Failing is a natural part of any entrepreneur's journey. However, you can transform those failures into success. In this video, I'm going to be talking to Carlos Alvarez, 9-figure seller on Amazon worldwide. I'm going to be picking his brain and learning a little bit more about what he's doing on Amazon in the UAE. All you need to do, just keep on watching. If this is your first time watching a video on this channel, hi, my name is Crystal. I'm an Amazon seller and I'm the founder of Amazon Sellers Society Middle East. If you want to learn more about the society and how you can join, you can find all the information in the link in the description box below, or you can visit our website www.assmiddleeast.org. In this video, I'm going to be speaking to Carlos Alvarez. I met Carlos because we are both part of the Helium 10 advisory board. However, he's based in the US and he sells also on Amazon in the UAE. I'm based in the UAE and I also sell on Amazon in the US. I'm the only one on the advisory board for Helium 10 from the Middle East. I'm actually the first person to be on the customer advisory board for Helium 10 in the Middle East. And he's the only seller that actually does sell worldwide, including Amazon.ae. So we had a great chat together and we decided to do this video in order to talk about failing, because failing is something very important. However, you should transform failing into success if you follow Carlos's story. Let's get going. So Carlos, thank you so much for your time. I'm very excited to talk Amazon with you and everything related to Amazon. So we connected because you sell primarily on Amazon.com and also on Amazon in the UAE. However, I live in the UAE and I sell on Amazon in the UAE and also on Amazon.com. So we've got all those things in common. But I want to learn about, I want everybody to learn about how you started on Amazon and why you decided to start selling on Amazon.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me on your show, first of all. And I started selling on Amazon, it's a little shy of 15 years ago. And it was totally by accident. I'm an elementary school dropout, came from a really rough childhood. And as I got older, I'd say in my late 20s, very early 30s, my peers were just so far ahead of me because, the types of jobs I was qualified for. So fast forward a little time, I had an expensive ex-girlfriend and I was just trying to get stuff for her. I guess that sounds really lame now, but that's what I was doing. Like anything she wanted, I was trying to get it for her. And that had me working 3 different jobs. It had me doing side gigs. And by side gigs, nothing e-com, just unloading trucks, degreasing
At least you
stuff.
were motivated. At least you were
very
motivated. Yeah.
Very. She had me motivated, but for the wrong reasons. So like and there was just never enough. There never enough time in the day and never enough to really, she always wanted more. So I discovered eBay and I got a random thing from around the house, listed it, sold it. I was really hooked on the process and I didn't look back. I just kept finding things around the house, around the neighborhood, and I'd list it on eBay and I'd sell it. And gradually what I was selling on eBay would make more in profits than my sub delivery route. So I'd drop that. And then I'd go on to the next job, selling cigar accessories, then working in a local supermarket. Until eventually I was doing this full time. And the process took about 6 to 8 months. But just to be clear, at 6 to 8 months, I pretty much wasn't sleeping. I was working these jobs and then I was working this other business. It wasn't this 20 minutes on the side thing.
Yeah.
So I find myself doing this full time. Everyone's looking at me as they're using words like entrepreneur, online seller, just things that to me, it was a huge ego boost because I was in like a weird spot in my life, feeling like really insecure that all my peers were doing something great. And keep in mind, 15 years ago, well, this is more than 15 years ago. This is 16, 17 years ago. Saying that you full-time sold online, especially like eBay or Amazon, was seen as very juvenile. It was something you could look at as a hobby and not a profession. And so sellers now have the advantage of seeing other sellers like myself and other people that just have done really well full-time, and they can treat it that way going in. But doing this with no confidence was a little harder.
Yeah.
So friends and family finally look at me and they're like, man, we want to really support him. You know, he's not going to end up in this worst case scenario that we've imagined. So they pulled together money. They pulled together $81,000 and they invested it in me. And immediately I got this $81,000 and I went to go buy my most profitable product that I was selling. And I had just discovered Alibaba. It looked completely different than what it does now 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So there was no escrow. There was no protections. My supplier, it was an adult novelty toy, and my supplier did not have, obviously, $81,000 in stock. So I understand how a factory, in my ignorance, didn't carry that much stock. So I looked on Alibaba for other suppliers, and I found one who went by the name of Usman Sise. And he had everything in stock.
Yeah.
I'll never forget.
You'll never forget. Yeah.
Yeah. And had a factory in Hong Kong and had all my products. I sent him all the money and he stole everything from me. So it was like 80 grand and he stole all of it from me. There are no factories in Hong Kong. They're in mainland China. Simple Google search would have just really debunked this. And
yeah, but 15, 16 years ago, that wasn't
yes,
probably possible. I'm just trying
correct.
to
yeah, like help me here. Like, so I don't look that bad. You're like, why is he on this show?
No. I know why.
So I didn't want my friends and family to know that I had messed up again.
Yeah.
So I tried to sell what little possessions I had to get seed capital and keep going. We've also added Amazon during this time. And Amazon then was this, air quotes, stupid thing that these people must be crazy. We're going to pay for shipping to send our products to FBA. We're not going to make any money. And obviously we know that not to be true now. But whatever we couldn't sell on eBay would just take up this huge space in our house. And we just said, well, let's try Amazon. Let's try this FBA thing. We free up space and whatever. We send it and it sells out like in an hour, everything.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, wow. So we added Amazon at this time. So when I went to go sell two of my possessions, it was two reptiles. It was a Colombian red-tailed boa and a Burmese python. I like snakes. And the person in front of me in line was paying $25 for 50 worms to feed his, I believe it was a bearded dragon lizard that he had. And I was so desperate, I imagined, well, I'll go dig for worms and whatever it takes to sell 50 worms for $25. So I stumbled on an article by a zoologist that said that that zoos should breed insects to feed reptiles and it would save money instead of paying top dollar on the private market. I'm trying to fast forward through this, but I immediately ran out, found bins, researched everything I possibly could on breeding insects. I even reached out cold calling professors, and I couldn't even afford the bins that these things would go. And I created these ecosystems for insects, and I packed my house full of them. And I began selling live insects on eBay and Amazon by the box. And my ex at this point just had enough. She ran off with one of my business partners. One thing is the Amazon eBay guy. The other one is insects in the house. So she's gone.
Yeah. But mind you, at this point, everybody, like the whole family, thinks, you're like
psychotic.
And they don't, at this point, they don't know about the money that you lost.
They don't. I didn't want to tell anybody.
I think you're like amazing. You're like a genius.
Sure. Right. And it was pure desperation. I was peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't afford anything. And I get a knock on my door at 11 p.m. at night, and it's like code enforcement in the area.
Yeah.
Because at this point, just in crickets, I'm at over 3.5 million crickets in breeding. And when they start going off and making noise in the neighborhood, it's bad. It's really bad. So I bluff the code enforcement and tell them if I throw all the insects out of the house that it would be an agricultural disaster. There may have been truth to that, I don't know, but they gave me till the next day.
Yeah.
A friend of mine loaned me some warehouse space. I set up shop there, eventually take over the warehouse space because no one wants to share warehouse space with insects.
Yeah.
And fast forward about a year, and I mean, this is all I'm doing. I'm working I'm working till I pass out, literally, and I'm passing out on the office floor because I don't want to waste time driving home because I can't get these orders out fast enough. And it's all merchant fulfilled because you can't FBA insects. So I get approached by a company, and fast forward about another 2 months, and my insect company was purchased for $2.6 million. And at that point, I had never had any kind of money like that.
That number wasn't,
I had I had zero business skills. I did not understand any business concepts. And I was single. I paid the IRS, I paid the accountants, the brokers, the everything involved, and I was left with a nice amount. But with no concept of money, I thought I can live whatever lifestyle I would like, never work again, and just be rich. And that was so not true. So I discovered dating and flirting, and like I think I whored around Miami for like 8 months, and I just lived life. And then I sat down one day and realized that at this rate, I would be broke in a year.
For sure.
And then when I started trying to cut back on money, all of the people I had around me, they were no longer interested in hanging out, and they just left. So the only thing, I knew that I did not want to be broke again. I had no idea what I was going to do. But the only thing I had ever succeeded at was Amazon. So I immediately revisited Amazon. I made one of what's going to be a chain of many mistakes I've made over the last 15 years. And I reached out to the closest people around me, and we're like, hey, I got this idea. You're interested? And they're like, sure. Okay, we'll be 50% partners. And we started making these business, and we started doing these 50% partnerships. And the first two businesses were what we would call a private label now. And it was a company that created devices that chills beverages. So think like Corksicle, Whiskey Stones, like that sort of stuff. And then the other business I started is what in the Amazon world we'd call a wholesale business. So I quickly found success with both of them. I mean, to this day, just knock on wood here, I've never launched an unsuccessful private label product. Lord knows I've made a lot of mistakes, but I fast forward almost 15 years of doing this full time. And each year, the last 2 years, we cracked 100 million in gross sales. So I've sold about a dozen brands to date over the years, and and my wife will confirm this next point, is that it is the only thing that I am really good at.
It's fantastic that you say that, because I really always get comments from people asking me if they can do Amazon as a full-time thing, if it can actually be a full-time job for them or a full-time business for them. I do know that starting out, it might seem a little bit odd for somebody who is coming from a full-time employment, selling online, not having, not necessarily being an entrepreneur. They might think that, it's probably a very weird business model, even to this day. But so I'm very happy that, you clarified that for a lot of people, that, it is possible. It's not going to happen overnight though, but it is possible for sure. So when we talked about this interview and talking together, we said, well, let's make things a little bit different, because everybody always focuses on, 5 steps to success, do this to succeed. Let's talk about failure, because failing is something very important if you know how to keep going. And that's what you've done throughout all your career. So what do you think about failure? Is it inevitable on Amazon? Should it stop you as an Amazon seller, as an Amazon entrepreneur? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I guess my only concern there is that we don't have all day, because all day would not be enough to share all the failures that I've done.
For sure.
As a matter of fact, my origin story that I just shared began with an $80,000 failure in the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I want to say two things. One is that it's easy for me now, 15 years later, successful, beautiful, amazing wife, 2 kids, the 4 dogs. It's really easy to say these memes and these cool sayings.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of them then. So I will say something though, that two things. One, and anybody listening to this, just try to blurt this out loud when you're, or watching this even. What's the opposite of success? So for most people, if you're like most people, what you probably said was failure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. Failure, if failure is required to succeed, failure is stepping stones to success. Quitting is the opposite of success. So I didn't quit. Now not quitting, when you have, something going on and you have other responsibilities, what that threshold is for most people and what your why is different for everyone. So my why was, I didn't know I was just seeking praise from people. I wanted that validation that I wasn't this loser,
that I'm enough,
that yes, that I'm enough, that somebody will want to marry me and somebody will, I'm not saying that that's a healthy why. No. But my why has changed over the years.
For sure.
But that why is for everybody's going to be different. And failing so much has, I feel like, giving me an unfair advantage to look back over businesses before Amazon and on Amazon and realize that it would have been impossible for me to succeed without having failed a lot. And the saying is, if you want to succeed quicker, increase your rate of failure. Now, this should not be failures that you're going out and committing that equate to your entire savings, or can result in either I succeed or I'm homeless. You know what I mean? Like that. It needs to be calculated failures, but failure is a really important thing. Failure that you don't learn from is bad.
It's wasted.
It's like a cancer in your business. So you should aggressively, excitedly, when you do fail at something, figure out why, so that you can build on that, because that's how you level up. So enough of the fluff, right? But it's all true. It's all super true. I live it and breathe it. So failures that I've done through my Amazon selling journey is one of them I shared, which is the $80,000. The other one I just briefly touched on, which was, and I highly recommend this book to anybody listening. If it was up to me, you couldn't start a business unless you read this book. And I'm going to do this throughout. Like, I'm going to drop books, but one of them is called The Founder's Dilemma by Noah Wasserman. And it's just, I pulled over several times reading this book with chills. Like, I thought the person was talking about me. And I needed validation in the beginning, and I went out and said, I have this idea. And I didn't start these ideas because I needed someone to go along with me on the ride, someone that wanted to share this risk and this journey with. And that turned around and bit me in the proverbial, you know what, I don't know how many times, because you bring on partners that, they don't have the same vision you do. They don't have the same goals as you. So business partners was my main one. I just, at one point I had 16 plus business partners at any one time across a bunch of different businesses. Another one that I got totally wrong. And this one,
why do you think is business partner is not a good idea? Because I do know a lot of people who approach me and they say, yeah, I want to do this Amazon business with not necessarily a business partner, sometimes a business partner, sometimes a spouse, sometimes a friend, like somebody, you know, why do you think doing it with a business partner is, I started with a business partner and then I did part ways and we did sell our business. So
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
misspoke.
necessarily
I misspoke.
fantastic.
I'm
It
not.
wasn't
Yeah, I'm not.
fantastic for me either,
Sure.
but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I misspoke. I'm going to say that a business partnership can be good
Yeah.
if it was structured in a healthy way. No different than a relationship between two people. If it has all of the right ingredients, including, you know, mutual respect, trust, equality, if all of that's present, then it's possible. I just, what happens is people change and your business changes. So we did all the rookie mistakes. Like, you know, we'd start the business, and this is important. My businesses did not, with business partners, the problems didn't come from failure. It wasn't that we're almost out of money, we're stressed, what do we do? It came from successes. So when the money came in, do we reinvest it all in the business and grow?
The vision changed. The vision changed.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We went from bus passes to Maseratis.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, I'm not on the same page with you on that. And so that was a big one. Also, we made the mistake of, we started the business. Okay, I'm the CEO and you're the COO. And then what happened is our business grew, and I'm an amazing CEO for a 4-person team.
Yeah.
But I am the worst CEO for a 20-person team. Not only am I not good at it, I don't like it. I don't like the responsibilities of a CEO. So what would happen is we would grow and our team would grow. And then the position that we assigned each other, we were no longer the most qualified person for it. But since we were friends, how do you go to your friend and say, dude, you just a good CEO? We're going to get rid of you and put someone else. And the person's like, well, wait a minute. Like, why are you going to get rid of me? And you're like, don't worry, the CFO, that's a cool title. And now you just stuck somebody, you know what I mean? It's like going to a roofer for legal advice. So you just move this person that wasn't qualified to be a CEO, who can't even balance their book, their paycheck, or their bank book. And you've gave them the CFO title because you want them to look good on LinkedIn, and you don't want them to feel incomplete.
Yeah.
So I made a ton of bad decisions there out of ignorance, and it spelled disaster for my business. I think I have 10 groomsmen in my wedding or something. And with the exception of one, we all no longer speak, or were engaged in lawsuits with each other, suing each other. And like, one of those people I lost a relationship with was my brother, who for a business partnership with my brother. There's nothing worth that.
Yeah.
So massive mistake there was the way I approached business partnerships. But on paper, the way business partners are structured, yes, I'm not saying that all business partnerships have to be that way. The other major one that I did, and for anybody listening, they're probably thinking at this point, this guy is an idiot. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, who would have done that, right? But my next one was this. So one of those businesses I started in the beginning was a wholesale business after the sale.
Yeah.
And I grew that business to about 14 to $16 million gross per year. And at that point, and this is important, at that point, we were at about a 38% profit margin. So really good.
Really
Something
good.
you could get away with back then, and nowadays not
For
so much because of
wholesaling, now it's very tough. Yeah.
So what happened though is I would pull up to the gas station with like my newest girlfriend, and I would have a total freak out, and I would start cycling the last 4 digits of my credit cards in my head. And it wasn't which one would give me the most points. I was concerned that they would all decline. I was doing amazing margins. And at the time, I was such a different person. I was such a jerk. Like, you couldn't have a conversation with me without the word, I'm a millionaire, or something like that sneaking its way into the conversation. I was so What a jerk. Like, I wouldn't have a drink with myself back then. But what happened was is actually very simple. You're probably thinking, oh my God, he just said 14, 16 million, 30%. You're running the numbers. How does that happen? Like, how could you not put gas in your car? It's actually extremely easy.
It is.
It's extraordinarily easy to do. And it ties into the next big mistake I made. And that was cash flow is something that other people need to think about.
Yeah.
It's just, you need either know it or you need to hire someone that does. And I didn't. So what happened was I was, what do they call it now? An 8-figure seller. Like, I was an 8-figure seller who couldn't put gas in his car. And the more money that went in the bank, the more credit I would get, the more, people like Cabbage and Lending Tree and all these people would give me these $1 million, hundreds and hundreds of $1,000 loans with massive interest rates. And we were growing at an unhealthy rate. Like, even right now, yes, that was slightly easier back then, but even right now, if you have a team in place or you have some systems to go out there and find suppliers, Warren Buffett would run out of money before they would run out of suppliers. Like, there is just no end to opportunity to sell in this world. So my amount of money
What
in
you
loans,
just said now is fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, it's true. It really is true.
It is.
Yeah. So I would just buy up all the opportunities I could. So if you tie up so much money and spend money faster than it's coming in, and you owe money that's greater than that, you're broke. Like, you're broke. You're just absolutely broke. And that's what I did. So my way of realizing that was, I had an argument with a business partner, and the person stole some money from the business, and I wanted out, but I wanted to protect my millions. So I went to a friend and we sat down all weekend going over our non-existent books and trying to figure this out. And I said, look, I just need to know what is mine so I can go hire the best lawyer. And at the end of a weekend of pizza, the person sat me down. This was a huge game-changing moment for me, and said, Carlos, good news is you don't need a lawyer. The bad news is you're broke. And worse than that, you owe a lot of money, and you are really good at moving money, but not making money.
Yeah.
So that major mistake fell into there. You can't get lost in moving money instead of making money. Gross numbers, your gross sales are vanity. Your revenues, your profits are sanity. So focus on those numbers. I did that really, really wrong. And the way I fixed it, I'll be honest, if Excel even opens up on my computer, my anxiety goes up. I don't like it. I know how to read data and stuff for my PPC. I just realized that wasn't something that I wanted to do, and I hired it out. I hire it out. My bookkeeping, my accounting, I am not knowledgeable about those things. I hire knowledgeable people to handle those things.
That's amazing. Carlos, I want to ask you something though, because I did tell you, I do get approached a lot by people in the Middle East. And when they do think about selling on Amazon, naturally they think, well, why should I start out selling on Amazon in the Middle East, especially in the UAE?
Where you have an unfair advantage.
Where I can go and sell on Amazon.com. It's so much bigger. I'll make so much more money. To a certain point, that's true. But for somebody who's never sold on Amazon before, I'm very scared to tell them, yeah, go ahead and sell on Amazon.com. So I want to, I always say this, so I don't want to be the one who's always preaching about selling in other marketplaces. So since you are such a knowledgeable seller and you do sell probably on every single Amazon marketplace out there. So what do you think about that? What do you think about, starting out in a marketplace where you live, or where if you're not in the UAE, you're somewhere around the UAE. So a marketplace that's definitely smaller and which has just started out versus.
Yeah. Well first of all, you're right on the money. That you're 100% right. Sourcing and selling locally is just e-commerce 101. That's e-commerce and business 101. That's supply and demand 101. I have 15 years of selling under my belt, and we're about even when it comes to me selling in the UAE. We did, and then as far as if there's opportunity, yes, the UAE is one of our, it's one of our smaller marketplaces, but we did 600,000 in sales in the UAE, and we're just scratching the surface. So we look at the top two marketplaces that have our attention and that we're like really trying to build out teams for is the UAE and India.
Yeah.
So period. Like that's what, yes, the US has a lot more buyers currently. It's a lot more robust. It's a lot more seasoned. But if you live in the UAE or close to the UAE marketplaces, you have an unfair advantage over me. It feels like, I mean, you can eat my lunch selling there. It's an amazing marketplace. Amazon has gone all out. Put it like this: the UAE Amazon marketplace is 100 times ahead of Amazon Mexico, for example. And it looks so good, and the opportunities are so good, and the spending power is so good that we have a ton of attention on UAE. We're also looking at Malaysia now. We sell everywhere that Amazon's at. Our second greatest marketplace is Japan. It used to be the UK until the Brexit confusion happened. We do fantastic in Japan because we also do just awesome with Rakuten in Japan. But anywhere Amazon's at, we do great on the 3P and on the 1P side. And the UAE, I absolutely love it. I wish I lived in the UAE.
Well, you're welcome.
I love Miami, but I'd love to come.
Well, it's kind of similar in weather, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. I have a bunch of people on my team that live in Dubai.
Really? That's fantastic. Yeah. That's fantastic. So, Carlos, any advice to people starting out that, you know, I obviously love, I love Amazon. Some people even think that I work for Amazon. I don't, because I talk about Amazon all the time. So they think like, are you hired by Amazon? No, I'm not. I'm sure you get that all the time as well.
Yeah.
Because we love Amazon. I think it's because I know how it is to sell basically brick and mortar and how hard it is. And even I do have experience selling on my own website, and I know how harder it is. It's fantastic, and it's something that everybody should do, of course. However, Amazon have this amazing infrastructure. Yet a lot of people keep telling me, you know, FBA fees are high. Maybe it's not such a wonderful business opportunity. And obviously, every single business has its pros and cons. But if I was to approach you, let's say I'm like a person who's looking into Amazon, and well, obviously you're a 9-figure seller. So what would you say? Would you say that, yes, Crystal, Amazon is a fantastic opportunity, go for it, or forget about it? I know the answer, but come on, you're going to give me.
Yeah, no, there's nothing, there's not even a close second. Let me break down the numbers some more too. And this is in the US too.
Yeah,
so of the numbers I shared earlier, I'm also pretty much in every brick and mortar retail store that's relevant to my category. I'm on eBay, Overstock, Walmart, Rakuten. I'm on all of them. And I'm in some of them, I have some really good placement in the stores. If you add up all of them, it's about 8% of what my total sales are. Only 8%. So that's combined. So that means the other 92% comes from Amazon. And I love Amazon because of just the relationship I've had and just the successes I've had with them. But if Amazon stopped being that 92%, I'm a business person. Like, I'm going to sell where people are buying.
Exactly.
And where people are buying is Amazon. And if you don't sell on Amazon, you're just giving up. In most countries, you're giving up 50%. You're basically saying, I'm not interested in 50 to 60% of the buyers. And that's a really poor business model. So you don't want to do that. And also, if you're just starting, you want to start in your marketplace. You want to start locally. Here's, I organize the largest Amazon
Yeah.
seller meetup group in the world, 18 live events per month in South Florida. We have so many people come in the beginner hour and they're immediately talking about selling in Europe. This is in the US, selling in Europe, selling private label. My advice to you is to, yes, I love private label, but there's a lot of opportunities to make money on Amazon. And the first step after you've identified what your goals are is to pick one of the Amazon selling models that are out there. Maybe it's private label, and learn how to sell on Amazon. Grab a few things, whether it's arbitrage, wholesale, or whatever. Learn how to sell on Amazon. It's almost irresponsible of you to drop a bunch of money on an order of private label and you don't even know how to create an FBA shipment. So
Exactly.
just take the time to list a product, try to sell a product, and then determine if you even like it. Maybe it doesn't fit your lifestyle. Maybe you're like, wait a minute, they made it sound easier than what it is. And it is easy. It's just, it's easy, but it's not simple.
Compared to
So
other
I hope
jobs,
that helps.
yeah, that's fantastic. Compared to other jobs, it might seem easy, but exactly what you said. It's just because it's easy doesn't mean that it's simple. There are a lot of steps that you need to learn. And I do advise people not to basically watch a bunch of YouTube videos. I put out a lot of YouTube videos, but in the end, they are YouTube videos. So I would tell people always, don't start a business off of a YouTube video. So there are a lot of, courses out there. There's a lot of people who are giving advice, but you need to either do it yourself and take the time to learn, or you need to get somebody to teach you. So it's either this or that. So Carlos, thank you so much. Everything you said was amazing and very valuable. I'm sure a lot of people want to figure out where you're at. So where can they find you?
Two best places is, anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon.
Yeah.
So like Instagram, or we're connected on Instagram. So I'm pretty active on Instagram. Where I'm most active right now is we have obviously 100% free group chat. It's on Telegram, and you can find it by going to amazongroupchat.com. So it's those are the two best spots. But social media anywhere at Wizards of Amazon. I launch a YouTube channel in like 2 weeks. Hopefully do it as amazing as Crystal, but those are the best spots to reach me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I want to tell everybody, if they have any question, they can either talk to you directly or leave a comment down below, and we'll have you again as a guest. That would be fantastic. And then we'll answer all those
absolutely.
questions.
Yeah, and if anybody asks a question below on this video, I'll chime in too.
Please, of course.
Yeah. Thank you
so
so
much. Thanks.
I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Make sure you also, if you're feeling generous, share this video with like-minded people so we can grow our community. I'll see you in another video with more information. Bye.